Johnston Gate, which is this gate right in front of us. It's the oldest and largest gate in Harvard. It's pretty special. And during your time at Harvard, you're only supposed to walk through there twice. And the first time is when you come in with your parents, and it's supposed to be like when you first unload in your houses. It symbolizes coming into the yard, coming into Harvard. And then the second time is when you walk out on graduation day. You know, you're going out into the world. And it says that if you walk through any other time, you're bound to get expelled or kicked out of school or something. So as you can see, most people actually avoid the gate proper. But I've walked under there quite a few times, so pray for me. And then also, that gate used to also be called Sweetheart's Gate or Lover's Gate because back in the day when Radcliffe was all the way up the street, women weren't allowed in the yard after night. And so when men and women would go on their like hot dates in the yard or in the square, this was the place where they'd have to say goodbye. And it was said that if you kiss your sweetheart under the gate, you're bound to get like married or I have no idea what it's supposed to be, but I'm also waiting on that one. We'll see. We'll see. So I told you guys that there were 2.5 exceptions to the buildings around here. The first one is right across from us, and that's University Hall. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it's just mainly an administrative building. The second one is Harvard Hall right here. And then the 1/2 is Massachusetts Hall right here. And the reason why it's 1/2 is those top 2 floors up there are where students live. Apparently something like 24 students live in Mass Hall. And then the 2 bottom floors actually are a really interesting role on campus. And they're the house, or the house of the office of Drew Faust. And so that's where the president's office is. It's a nice little metaphor about, you know, the president supporting his students and such. But Mass Hall has a really interesting history. So it's the oldest building in the United States that's been used continually for academic use. And it was built in 1720. And it was actually played a rather important role during the Revolutionary War. So that's when the U.S. was declaring their independence from England. And what happened was Harvard said, okay, we'll lend you our building to George Washington, and said, you know, everything's fine as long as you return the building to us in tip-top shape. And so George Washington and something like 600 soldiers lived in this building for a while during one winter. And when we got the building back, everything was fine, except there were no more doors and no more doorknobs. They had used the doorknobs as ammunition and had melted them down and used the doors as firewood. And so Harvard University actually became the first private office to sue the US government. And then over here we have Harvard Hall. And Harvard Hall has a pretty interesting history too. It was first built somewhere over there, and today isn't a good indicator, but Cambridge is extremely wet. So when it was originally made, it was made out of wood, and it rotted on the spot. It was shoddily made. It totally went to pieces. So it was rebuilt here in the late 17th century, and it was thought to be the most beautiful building in all of the colonies. It had a dining hall. It housed all of John Harvard's original books. It had classrooms. It had places for people to live. It was thought to be extraordinary. So brace yourselves, because I'm about to tell you a really tragic story. So, in the winter of 1764, a student by the name of Ephraim Briggs was studying at Harvard. Doesn't sound too crazy yet, but during those years, students weren't allowed to take books out of the library because they were so precious. And so in order to finish a paper, to do studying, you had to stay within the library. But also the library is closed at 12, at midnight. And so midnight came around and Ephraim Briggs hadn't finished his homework. And so he was faced with a problem. He could either not finish his paper, turn it in, you know, not complete, and just get the bad grade, or he could steal the book. So he thought, okay, as any Harvard student, he couldn't just take the bad grade. So he decided to slip the book under his coat, run out. He thought he'd return it in the morning, no harm, no foul. It would be great. The thing is, when he came to return the book in the morning, the building was no longer there. It had burnt down in the night. And so Ephraim Briggs had the last book of John Harvard's original collection, of those 400 books I told you about. And so it's rumored that President Holyoke, who was the president of the college at the time, was like crying over the loss of this beautiful building, and Ephraim Briggs came up and thought he was going to be the hero of the day, saying, it's okay, I've got the last book of John Herbert's collection, it's going to be totally fine. And so upon presenting President Holyoke with the book, President Holyoke thanked him profusely, thank you so much, and then expelled him from the college from stealing Harvard's property. But it's said that the students have like the last laugh on this one because the only building named after President Holyoke is that horrible, disgusting like glass building we walked out of earlier, while other presidents get these like beautiful brick mansions. So. Okay, so next we're going to be heading out across the yard over in that direction. As always, if you have any questions, let me know.